Mario Kart World has probably been one of Nintendo's most controversial releases in recent memory. Not that the game is bad per se, but there's a lot of elements about it that have got people fighting. Whether it be the intermissions, open world, or the price. It seems that almost every aspect about the game is split in some way, which has led a lot of people to being disappointed in both the game and the community. So let's stoke the flames. With the game as controversial as Mario Kart World, hot takes are flying around all over the place, so today I thought it'd be fun to talk about my own hot takes for the game. It's been a bit since I've had an episode in the hot takes series, so I thought this would be a perfect game to bring it back for. As always with this series, the hot takes here won't just be my own. While the first section of this video will cover what I have to say, the second section will talk about hot takes taken from you all in the community tab. Those takes won't just be the ones I agree with, just the ones I think are the most interesting to talk about and make fun of. And boy did you guys give me a lot to make fun of. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right in. Alright, I want to start out with a take I feel pretty strongly about. This track is garbage. Within the past month, I've seen a few Mario Kart World track rankings, and for some reason, most people seem to like, or at least think Faraway Oasis is okay, but I think this is easily the weakest Mario Kart World original track. Shut up, Peach Stadium 1 doesn't count. It's not the worst track in the game if you include the retros, but I do not like Faraway Oasis pretty much at all. Looking at the track's thumbnail, it looks like it could be interesting where you have to race alongside a bunch of different animals. It's too bad Mario learned the art of clickbait. The track is incredibly plain and boring. The animals only exist on the outside of the track. All you do on the track itself is race on fairly open bridges and a bit of water. What I really don't understand is that these animals are in the game. They're just found on the intermissions leading up to the track instead. This track sort of reminds me about how people criticize Dino Dino Jungle for only having one dinosaur. But instead of adding in a ton more, Nintendo decided to take it away and leave the track completely barren. Faraway Oasis could have been cool, but I don't think I've seen a track theme be this botched in the entire Mario Kart series. The only interesting part about this track is the waterfall turn near the end, but that's not even close to enough to save this. What confuses me the most about this is the fact that some people do seem to love this track for the gameplay, but I just genuinely can't see it. The parkour mechanics on this map are extremely bare bones compared to most of the other tracks in the game. The jumps here are all very easy. I guess it is kinda cool how you have to use the bounce up from the water to get onto this rail, but again, that's far from enough to save this track. But most of the other courses have insanely complex jumps that you wouldn't even think about. Faraway Oasis just seems so lame in comparison. I genuinely think this is one of the weakest Mario Kart tracks in the series, and I honestly think saying it's even okay is giving it too much credit. If its theme was better utilized, I feel like I would be more forgiving, but I think this track was just a massive disappointment. I think that's pretty much my only track hot take at the moment, so let's jump away from that and look at the characters. The roster in this game has easily been one of the most dividing aspects, so where do I fall in this discussion? Fence sitter, both sides hate me. Well, I want to start by saying I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's roster is better than Mario Kart World's. Not only did Mario Kart 8 Deluxe have pretty major characters like Kamek, Funky Kong, and the Koopalings, hashtag Larry for Mario Kart, but it also included characters from outside the Mario franchise like Link, Isabelle, the Inklings, and so on. Not to mention losing the Miis is a pretty big hit, especially since they had a bunch of amiibo costumes in 8 Deluxe to represent even more franchises. I think all of them are much more interesting than the NPC drivers they were replaced with in Mario Kart World. Major characters getting representation will always be more exciting to me than some niche enemies. And Mario Kart 8 had Tanuki Mario. It was peak. With that being said though, I don't dislike the NPC drivers at all, and that's why I think I fall in the middle. I think they're a great addition to the game because it's really funny seeing the snowman or dolphin driving around. In fact, I think they're a lot cooler than adding spin-off characters. I don't care about Koops or 9 volts, shut up! So yeah, I think I'm a fence sitter because the NPC drivers are cool additions, but not great replacements. So if we can get all the Koopalings and everyone else back from 8, then I'd be happy with this roster. Sticking with characters for just a bit longer, I want to talk about the costumes. Now I do like that costumes are in the game quite a bit, as I think it's a great way to add some more options to the roster. Even if I still think Drybone should have gotten one, but whatever, I'm holding back my rage. What I don't love though is a lack of references in the costumes. I got a lot of flack on my Mario Kart Tour costume ranking for saying I prefer if a costume has an origin from a different game. Yes, the original outfits can absolutely look cool and there are a ton of great ones here, but I also like pointing at my screen when I get a reference. There are still absolutely some costumes with origins. Many of Peach's outfits come from Mario Odyssey, some of Mario's do as well, and there's Captain Toad and Toadette, but that's about it. I do like that there's original costumes, but I also think there's plenty of room for recognizable outfits to be added too. Luigi's Mansion King Boo, Builder Mario, the Freeriding Koopas, Meowser, and so on were all costumes in Tour that I think easily could've could've and should've been worked in here. Even outside of the outfits that were in tour, there are still plenty of options. Pauline's Odyssey outfit, the WarioWare biker outfit, don't fall for Mario Kart World's propaganda, this is some sort of skinwalker, Bowser Jr.'s Wonder design, and so on. I do appreciate the new costumes, but I like the reference costumes more personally, so I would have liked more of those in addition to the original ones. But before we move to bullying the comments, I have a few smaller ones that I wanted to rapid fire through. First off, I think the amount of content in the open world is pretty good. There are 150 question mark panels, 394 P-Switch missions, and 200 Peach medallions. That's a pretty solid count, but I've heard quite a few people say that the world is fairly empty. I think the real problem is that there's no way of tracking the P-Switches or Peach medallions. Without a guide, it's very likely that you spend a ton of time just retreading ground you've already been over looking for new stuff, so I think Nintendo really needs to add some sort of tracking system for the P-Switches. Even if it's as simple as sectioning off the map and giving each segment a total count of each collectible, it would make exploring the world feel a lot better, but I don't think the amount of content is the issue like a lot of people are saying. One other aspect of the open world that I was very disappointed in were the big vehicles. Every so often you could find vehicles like big trucks or helicopters in the open world. Unfortunately though, they're not only extremely rare, but not even that helpful with anything. The missions they're used in are nice, but I found trying to free roam with them just a bit underwhelming. And also I think the helicopters hate me. I spent like 10 minutes trying to jump for one, and when I finally made it, and for my final hot take, I like the boomerang. A lot of people in my item ranking said the boomerang sucks. Yes, it is quite annoying that it doesn't leave your item slot when you throw it anymore, however, hitting like 5 people with one throw is very fun. I think calling it a B tier item is a very fair placement for how effective it can be at killing people. Speaking of killing people, it's time to finally bully you nerds for your hot takes in the community tab. This is the part of the video I'm really excited about because I knew the takes were going to be atrocious this time. Case in point, Bit Chippy says, I don't think this game has a very good soundtrack. Don't get me wrong, the individual songs and arrangements are incredible. However, the soundtrack as a whole reeks heavily of nostalgia bait. I would have preferred to hear the creativity of the composers during intermissions and free roam, considering how many bangers they made for the new race courses. So I can see what you're saying, but I think Mario Kart World easily has one of the best soundtracks in gaming, and it's because of the remixes from previous games. Not only do they include a lot of tracks from older Mario Kart games, but even a lot of mainline games as well. Hearing all of the Odyssey remixes was really cool, and I just can't get behind not liking that. I can understand wanting some more original songs in the game, but I don't think the game has any less new songs than a normal Mario Kart game would. All of the new tracks have original songs here, which is pretty much exactly how the older games worked. Now we just have an additional open world, so making that have remixes of old Mario songs works well for me, especially due to how heavily a lot of these songs were remixed. It reminds me a lot of getting a new Smash game where we get a bunch of new remixes of old songs, but this time it's just Mario, which is great for me because that's obviously my favorite franchise. I just can't get behind calling the soundtrack anything less than fantastic. Maybe it's because I'm the type of guy to point at my screen at every reference, but I don't have any problem with how the soundtrack was handled in this game. Speaking of references, Astorlax6002 says, the fact that we did not get Dr. Dolphin as a costume is an absolute disgrace. This isn't really a hot take, I'm just disappointed in myself for not mentioning the goat earlier. Hope you can forgive me. J-Chan Real says, I don't have the game yet, but they shouldn't have removed kart customization. I know there was always meta combos that people would use in Mario Kart 8, but mixing it up was fun, and now your options feel pretty limited. I was debating on if I should include this or not when I was doing my own takes, because I'm honestly kind of mixed on this. In Mario Kart 8, I pretty much always just stuck with the exact same combo of the Biddy Buggy, Rollers, and Cloud Glider. Honestly though, I didn't hate kart customization and think it was fun for a lot of people. Sure, it maybe took a while sometimes when playing multiplayer because your friend was really annoying and indecisive. Bro, please just pick. But I don't think it was that big of an issue to remove the feature almost entirely. I'm also not a fan of the karts getting wings instead of custom gliders, because I think a lot of the glider designs in Mario Kart 8 were pretty cute, and it's a shame that they were replaced. Sparkling Amy00 says, the parkour system can make it way too easy for tryhards to dunk on new players, with items being unable to make up the difference. I'm gonna have to disagree with this one based on a couple of aspects. For one, the parkour system is great. I love the addition as it makes gameplay so much more interesting. I don't think it's a problem for better players to generally do better, and if they can have fun parkouring around while doing it, I don't see an issue in that. But I also don't even think it's true that the parkour mechanics give good players that much of a lead. The items in this game, especially blue shells, do a good job at slowing down the person up ahead. Many of the parkour areas in this game also only save a little bit of time, enough to definitely make a difference in the placements, but not enough to completely rule out the effectiveness of items. After all, bagging is still a very popular strategy in this game, and if the parkour mechanics worked like you said, I don't think that would be the case. I don't think you need parkour to win a lot of the time. It certainly helps your chances, but just playing standard Mario Kart very well with good item usage can be enough. But also, if you're like 8 years old, don't play against a pro player. Real Cool Duke says, they ruined Sky High Sundae. I'm just gonna say that's rage bait and move on. Dr. Yoshi says, I think the coin box and gold shell are amazing new items because they really transform the way you play. Trying to stay in the middle or behind someone for extra coins is such a great new mechanic that really encourages decision making and makes every race feel a bit different. I'm happy we got this one because I feel like a lot of the hot takes generally lean on the more negative side rather than the positive. With that said,
you're wrong, sulfuric acid.
I kinda get what they're saying, that they like how the game is shaped around these items, but I don't think it's been very exciting for me seeing these items appear. When a gold shell spawns, it's sort of an autopilot towards the coins, which I don't think is that fun. Not that it's bad, but it just doesn't leave that much of an impact. That's even worse with the question mark block, since I feel like it's a bit too chaotic near the middle of the pack to trail someone with this item effectively. None of this makes up for how bad it feels to get either of these items as the user. I can understand what you're saying though, I just don't feel like they're that impactful. That Perfect Celebrity says, I think if they were considering adding previous mob boat losers, the Spring to Life drop would have been a great time to add the Moo Blooms. I think this person got a little confused. Game Freak 701B says, this game needed a story mode. Boss battles, rival races to unlock characters, buying stickers and stands from the shops in Crown City and Mario Circuit. It is a colossal missed opportunity on Nintendo's part. Now, I've seen this take be thrown around quite a bit in Mario Kart World discourse, to the point where I'm not really sure if it qualifies as a hot take. So my hot take is that I don't really get this. Boss fights could be cool, but I don't think a whole story needs to be made for them. Just throwing them in randomly in the world could have been neat, sort of like encountering a Talus in Tears of the Kingdom or something. I don't think Mario Kart needs a cinematic story or even just a plot at all, really. The way the open world works is just a hub to explore is fine enough for me. Could they add some more things to do in the open world? Sure, but a story doesn't seem needed to me. Drake Waffle says, they didn't add Perry the Platypus even though Nintendo released the new Phineas and Ferb season the day Mario Kart World came out. I don't think Nintendo did that actually. But now it's time for the hot take I was waiting for the second I made my community post. As predicted, quite a few people brought this up. I had the power to pick any one of them to suffer my wrath. I chose this guy because I got a dog. Ecolet says, the intermissions are great. The fact that you all are complaining that the game has more tracks is something I would not understand, and it becomes worse with the fact that you all love the one-lap tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe like Mount Wario or N64 Rainbow Road. Yeah, I disagree with basically everything this comment says. 90% of the intermission courses are extremely underwhelming. There are some that are good, don't get me wrong, but a large majority of them are far too open without any interesting set pieces or obstacles. Most of them have very few turns, and if they have turns, they are extremely open turns. The intermissions don't even come close to the game's actual tracks most of the time. That gets even worse when you consider Mario Kart World's parkour mechanics, because the intermissions don't really use them. The intermissions make sense in Knockout Tours game mode, but in standard versus races, they are so much less interesting to race on. It's why everyone is so upset Nintendo has pretty much forced them on us online. Thanks a lot for that. Comparing the intermissions to the one-lap tracks like N64 Rainbow Road and especially Mount Wario is also just insulting to those tracks. Well, yes, you don't do laps on those, the course is still well designed throughout the whole thing. Neither of those tracks feel absurdly wide and plain at any point. They feel like Mario Kart tracks for the entire time. I mean, just look at Mount Wario ski area versus the intermission version in World. They are extremely different design-wise. Mount Wario is all about tight, twisty turns, whereas in World, it's basically an open straight shot forward. So the problem isn't necessarily the lack of laps, it's the fact that the intermissions are not nearly as well designed. Even then, doing laps is still a lot of fun. It's better to have a mix of formats instead of straight shot courses for the entire game. I just can't get behind thinking the intermissions are even close to as interesting as the tracks in this game and in previous games. Even though there are some good intermissions, that does not apply to the majority. JVasil3854 says, I'm broke!
Then get a job, you bum!
That actually leads us pretty smoothly into our final hot take of the day from Me Melon, who says, between the free roam, endless intermissions, and best track selection, the price is justified. Not that the game is perfect, but the price is justified. First off, I'm gonna assume we're talking about the $80 price rather than the $50 with the bundle. The bundle is 100% worth it, and I don't think most people are disagreeing with that. Once the bundle is discontinued though, and we're just left with the $80 option, I just can't agree with that. I know a lot of people are understandably on the side of saying that any game over $60 is a scam. For me personally though, I don't fully see it that way. I mean, I've probably spent thousands on Minecraft at this point, so I got no room to talk. I think you can make a game worth that expensive price. Of course, I'd much rather it be $60 anyway, but if the content is expansive and good enough, I'll accept it. It's not in Mario Kart World, not even close. Yes, there are a lot of intermissions, but like I said, most of them feel extremely lame. Yes, the open world can be quite fun, but Zelda Breath of the Wild had a much better open world for $60. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's track selection is honestly much better than World's, and that was before the DLC. Add on the Booster Course Pass, and it's no contest which game has the better tracks. Since you can get the Booster Course Pass with Nintendo Switch Online, if you're gonna get that anyway, you basically have a $60 Mario Kart game with 96 tracks versus an $80 game with 30. Plus, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's battle mode is infinitely better than World's. Now of course, Mario Kart World has the open world in addition to the racing and battle mode, but I don't think that comes close to making up the price gap. This is a Mario Kart game. Most of your playtime is gonna be with the online racing. Once you finish the open world, you'll be stuck with a much smaller track selection than an 8 Deluxe, which could lead to the game getting boring more quickly. For Mario Kart World to be worth $80 for me, they needed to perfect the main aspects of the game, which they simply did not. If they come out with a ton of free updates adding a bunch of new tracks, then maybe this can be fixed. But as of right now, there is not enough content here to make it even close to $80 for me. Games like Tears of the Kingdom and more recently Donkey Kong Bonanza feel like they are worth the $70 price, as they feel like near perfections of their formulas with a ton of content. For Mario Kart World to be $10 more than those incredible games just doesn't feel right to me. Mario Kart World is a good game, but with how much controversy it's been in, I don't think it makes sense to call it worth $80. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you think Ghost Valley 2 is better than Boost Cinema and hate me for not mentioning that hot take? Let me know in the comments. You all did a pretty good job with the comments on the post this time around. There were a lot of good talking points in this episode. Also, I just wanted to ask how you all would feel about me making a couple Donkey Kong videos. I've been loving the game so far, so if you all have any ideas, feel free to let me know. I do currently have one idea, but it's the insane one. But before I go, I've got to thank my members being Tibby, Drybones, Fredbear's Diner, Mario Master 101, Maidzio2, Hippopotamus, Levi Strux, Nuclear, Cassie Channel, Luma, Blessed Tiger, Yanni the Duck, Wyatt Derpy, Trader Mo, Evans 2001, Kidrugs 15, Caddy Shroom, Enchanted Skull, SMA, B Major 2003, Arson the Raboot, Sir Moosty, Belandor, Diluted Colors, Cinder CC, Jade Avery, Pruncel Clone, Thicky Reiki, Ingenio TM, CW McCain, JubeTube, Tesseract, Mr. McMahon 5702, Jameson Pageson, Golden Sunshine 15, Z Frost, Stuffy Ant, Just X, Concanet Keep, and Christian Flattery Sequel Edition. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.